Hello everyone and welcome back to another day of the Very Green Lockdown, where I give you some helpful tips you can use around the home to help protect the environment. So for today's video we're going to talk about the sharing economy. So I'll show you a picture first. So what do all these things have in common?
3, 2, 1.
You might have guessed it from the title. All of these things are things that I have recently borrowed from someone else. Borrowing is a really good way of lowering your environmental impact, because this way we don't have to consistently buy new things. It's actually thought that if everyone in the world consumed the way we do in the UK, we'd need 3.5 planets to sustain ourselves. So it's just not going to work long term as poorer countries become richer. We can't all go on the same way. It's also thought that about 80% of our household items are used less than once a month. You might think of things like tools or occasion wear, stuff that you don't get out of the cupboard very often because it's really just for that odd time that you need it. So why buy it and why let it stuff up your cupboard? So borrowing from friends and family or borrowing from your community is a really good way to get around this. So to give you some examples, with the lawnmower that I occasionally use, I have been sharing this with my neighbour. It's his lawnmower, but he realised that I needed to mow the lawn on occasion and he didn't really want to store his lawnmower. So we have agreed that I will store the lawnmower and we'll both share it between us. I've also borrowed ladders from family members and sanders and other things that are occasional tools, power tools especially, that I'm just not going to get use of very often. There is a new idea that has come about, which is for community spaces where people in the community can come together to borrow items that they might occasionally need that are stored by the local community hubs. This has come from an idea called the Library of Things, and it was started off in one location. I recently became aware of it, and it has been duplicating across different communities across Europe. And we now have a number of them in the UK. Some examples up here and in the public description below. In Norwich, where I live, they were doing this with a scheme called Stuff Hubs, and that was open to the community until the pandemic hit. And when we passed COVID-19, they plan to continue to open this for community groups to use, where they can borrow tables and chairs and other items that they might need on occasion. It's also worth asking to borrow things that you need on community groups, such as Facebook community groups. More often than not, if you ask in the group, does anybody have a spare table I can use for the day, for example, there's a good chance that somebody will help you out. They might even offer that you have it for longer so that they can get out of their storage space if you need it more often than one day. And of course, something that we often think about when we're thinking of borrowing is our local library. Now, we can go into the libraries physically once they're open again, but I recently found out that you can also access your library digitally. My local library service has connected with an app called MyLibby, which is pictures up here, and that allows me to download for free with my library account any audiobooks or ebooks that they have available. And I've been using this throughout this lockdown and it's been really useful. I've really enjoyed listening to audiobooks, which I don't normally do. And most libraries seem to be doing this now so that you can access some of the ebooks or audiobooks on your phone now or on your device, so you don't have to worry about the libraries not physically being open right now, or if you don't have time to get to them when they are. So I'd really recommend giving that a go. So there's lots of ways that borrowing can be good for the planet, be financially a good idea because you're not spending the money, but it can also bring people together and make you feel part of the community. If I wasn't borrowing things off my neighbour, then we might not be talking very often. And it just opens up some of those lines of communication. And I know some of you guys might not want to talk to your neighbours, but you never know when you might need your neighbour's help. If you do want to keep things rather transactional though, then just consider hiring things. There's plenty of places where you can hire tools and other items that you might need, so that you don't need to borrow them and you don't need to own them. Did you know that you can even rent out clothing? A couple of companies that I've discovered do this, which are particularly out there to meet this need of not contributing to the fast fashion and fashion waste problem that there is. So a company called On Loan is an example. They offer subscription services where you can actually get a few items of clothing every month to rent out and then return. I mean, isn't that so innovative and so good for the planet? So there's so many different ways becoming available to borrow. I hope you guys will really consider borrowing in the future, whether that's borrowing for free through your friends, family and community, or actually paying to hire, because it just benefits everyone and keeps your house clutter free. I will see you all back here tomorrow for another day of the Very Green Lockdown. Don't forget to hit subscribe.